Welcome to Praeternatural Mysteries with your host, Ivotres Littles and Dr. Lovey. We will take a closer look to the paranormal, supernatural, and the unexplained. But before we get into that, how are you doing, Dr. Lovey?
I'm doing magnificent. We're closer to Halloween. I've got lots of
Yes.
candy. None of it will last.
And I can't speak. I don't know what's going on.
That's okay.
With Halloween nearby, I guess I'm just in a festive mood. Yes, I
You
have
look fabulous. I love the horns. I love the cape.
I'm all devilish.
Woo-hoo.
It's like cocked to the side.
The devil.
I was one of those kids that never really wore a Halloween costume. Not really. I probably wear a cape and that's it. No.
Because you didn't want to, or?
Well, think about it. Back then in the 80s, those costumes were dangerous. You can't breathe, the plastic over your face.
There were a lot of things in the 80s that we did that were dangerous. And we had fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yep.
But today we're going to talk about the history of Halloween, but it's part two of it. So the first half, we got very deep and just some gruesome stuff, some great stuff we got into. But this time we're getting into the festive fun of it. It's a lot of fun. Now,
it's
part
fabulous.
one, it wasn't so fun.
Candy, we've got costumes, we've got later curfew. Yep.
And also the costumes have changed. I mean, the early were terrifying. They were scarier than the spirits
together. Yeah.
You would rather see the spirits in some of those costumes that they had. It changed over very drastically. We want to get into more of that. And also, we will talk about a real boogeyman, very briefly, a real boogeyman. And we're going to also talk about our friendly neighborhood boogeyman, which is Michael Myers, the one we all know and love, the only one. But before we get into that, Dr. Lovey, I always have to ask you a question. It's like tradition.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, do you remember your first costume when you were young?
I think I put a bucket on my head, drank every guest glass of alcohol at my parents' family party. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Oh, and then I put a blanket over my head and walked around and said boo to the people. I was 2. It was a good time.
Wait a minute. You were 2 and you were drinking?
It 1974. Those were some boozing days for those. Those swingers were drinking. Oh, yeah.
But you were 2.
They wasn't watching their kid.
Oh, my. You saw some real spirits.
I was like, woo. I was full of them, too.
I know. Oh, my goodness. That is so funny. For me, no. The early, I remember. I was Dracula.
Good one.
I was a vampire. I think I was Dracula because my sister, she painted the V shape here, and then my hair was pulled back. Yeah.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, it may appear that way.
We should pull out some photos.
I have no photos.
That's what you say. Okay. But at least we can show photos of what the costumes used to look like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're terrifying.
Some scary stuff.
Very, very scary.
That would make for an awesome Halloween party if someone had just homemade costumes only. Yeah.
And they have to look from the 1920th century. I would run out of there because some of them are terrifying.
Yeah. Just like in that movie Trick or Treat. Those are great.
Yeah, it was. So let's get into the history of Halloween part two, the more festive part of it, the more fun part of it. It's still kind of spooky, but it's more tamed than the beginning of Halloween. It wasn't, it it's so different now. It is so different now. Um, than it was back then. It was all witchcraft, it was dangerous, it was fun, it was religion. Um it was a lot going on, but now um it's more spiritual. I mean, there's people who practice Wicca, full-blown witches
Mm-hmm.
out there, people
Without the
who are,
fear of being burned.
yeah, and people who are Satanists, who worship,
Mm-hmm.
horror enthusiasts. They
Mm-hmm.
dress up any kind of way. I could look like a devil and nothing happens to me. It is so different. The only thing that has changed drastically is kids trick or treating. We it Yeah, I mean, when I was young, you could even see the concrete. It was so many kids out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. How
There were
was
tons
your
of kids.
experience?
Cars couldn't get by, and kids had like bags, like pillowcases and bags of candy, and there would be
Yeah.
like 200 kids on every single street. Yep. And
I
now
mean,
all the kids goes to they go to malls, they go to amusement parks, the little ones, and then all
mhm.
the adults go to the amusement parks for Not Scary Farm, Universal Nights. Yeah,
Yeah,
a huge difference.
yeah, it's a huge difference. And I miss that. I really do miss that. That was one of my glory days. You couldn't wait to October.
Yeah.
Once October hit, the horror movies come out. Um Man, some horror movies you ain't seen in decades just come out. Every channel.
Yep.
Cable was still I mean, there was barely cable. Um, I mean, just I think it was one channel,
Yeah.
but
We had
having
Elvira.
yeah, Elvira. We had Joe Bob, but he was Monster Vision or something like that. Yeah, TNT USA. We had USA Up All Night. We it was a lot going on. It was crazy. It was
Yeah.
festive. It was fun. It
Yeah.
was something you look forward to. There were Halloween parties.
Yeah.
I mean, these were real parties. Not the party that Dr. Levy went to when she was 2 years old and drinking.
That was a real party.
But if that was the 70s, that was a real party.
That was a real party. But then the 80s were even better.
Oh, the 80s were a lot of fun. I went to a lot of parties. Some of them I don't remember because I myself was drinking daiquiris. Remember daiquiris when those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would sneak and drink a daiquiri, and sometimes I would play a hand game and you know take a swig. I was young, but it was different times. It was different times. So anyway,
So yeah, we
back.
had spinning the bottle, we had the bobbing for apples, we had great candy. Yeah.
Mhm.
And there were the cheap people too. You knew whose house not to go to because they gave out like toothbrushes or toothpaste. And then there were other people where like you would be like, that guy has full size Snickers. You got to hit that house.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I've
But
had a few of those.
I've gone to houses and they gave out beer to little kids. And I went to a house that gave out, what did he give out? It was ridiculous. It was like shaving cream or something bizarre. Like there's been some really creepy, weird stuff.
Celebrating in the States. Here in the States, Halloween is actually celebrated in many different parts of the country. They celebrate under different names and different reasons. But here in the States, how did it change here to being more? It's a fun thing instead of, oh, it's with the devil, lynch, or burn or kill. I mean, it felt like it was such a huge jump. What do you think happened?
I I know that in the 50s, the candy makers capitalized on Halloween, and that's when we got really good candy. It used to be like they would give out cakes, cookies, half-baked bread or something, I'm not sure. I also know that sometime in the 70s, 60s, they, again, marketing said, hey, we can sell these costumes to these kids. These parents will buy these things. We've got all these superheroes. And so all the costumes changed drastically 60s, 70s. Candy changed drastically 50s. Um, I'm not sure when Halloween became fully accessible from we're going to burn the witch in the Puritan days to it's okay to send your kids out trick or treating. But
Mm.
I do know that originally they would have the people that were dressed in disguise were called geysers, and they would go house to house and they would offer prayers in exchange for food, and those were asked for soul cakes, or they would go souling. And so originally it was I would go door to door and say, I will pray for your ancestors, I'll pray for your souls, I'll pray for the souls of the departed. Give me that sugar. Give it a
uh,
sugar.
this is just a theory of what I think it changed over. Um, in the late 1600s, I mean, they were still looking for witches, and then at some point they realized we need to educate these people. You know, these people cannot be all witches just because she has a mole on her arm. She's not worshiping the devil. And I think once it changed over in the late in the late 1600s and completely try eradicate the witch hunts in the 1700s. I mean, some may have trickled and tried to, but they were cracking them down too. But when it completely went away, for the most part, for the what is written in history, who knows anywhere else. But I'm just specifically talking about the states. Um, I think that's when they went back to, okay, we're accepting different traditions,
Mm-hmm.
different ways of life. It's not all crazy and witchcraft and and stuff like that. It's just people still celebrated witchcraft, but they were allowed to be who they are, as far as religion. But it was some of it was low key. You couldn't just hey, I worship this, because you still had um groups, individual groups out there was just like, no, no. Especially Christianity. There was a lot of gray areas to say, okay, you're allowed to do this. But I think once it changed over, I
I
think
do
there
know
was.
during the Victorian time period when the spiritualists came into being very, very in fad like, it was okay to have seances, and it was okay to talk to the dead, or it was okay to do divination rituals, especially when it was the romantic idea of who will my future husband be, look in the mirror and turn off the lights and light a candle, and say this incantation. Or, for example, the bobbing of apples um, came into play. It's been around for ages, but then it came into play as to once you get the apple, then you twist its core while reciting the alphabet, and like the core would break at the time that their letter came up. But during the Victorian era was when ghost stories were acceptable and spiritualism became very acceptable and very in vogue.
Hmm. um yeah, they used to have spirit parties,
Yeah.
seance parties and things like that. But I think it also came into their people started debunking,
Yeah.
that this is fun. you
Mhm.
know there were people who believed in that a medium could call onto these spirits. But then you had people like Houdini and other people that was out there, no. Like, no, no. This is not, you know this is not entirely dangerous. So I think education is such a key. People had access to able to see things. They had circuses. Um, fortune tellers, hey, you're going to marry the man of your dreams. I mean, everybody had their own way of life. And I think over time it was just,
Well,
it's entertainment.
yeah, that which is taboo over a period of time becomes actually just normal and everyday acceptable.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But there are people who are actually witches. There are people who believe in Wicca, in voodoo, and
absolutely.
magic. And there are gypsies. There are people who believe in the spirit world.
I
Um,
fully believe in magic without question. I fully believe in spells. There are scientific studies on prayer work, and they don't know why it works, but you get a bunch of people together and they pray, and there have been some fortuitous outcomes that science
mhm,
can't explain. Absolutely.
yeah. So I think it took a lot of time, but over time it just became this entertainment life of Halloween, get dressed up, get candy, um believe what you want to believe.
But we celebrate the darkness, the unknown, the mysterious, the
Hmm.
terrifying. The horror films come out. Sometimes we dress in costumes that are absolutely terrifying. We celebrate and embrace all of these things because it's the great unknown, and
Yeah.
because we as humans are very social creatures and just want to celebrate. Actually, we take any excuse we can get, mostly. But it's the time when the thinning of the veil happens, and it's the time when the nights are the longest and the days are the coldest.
It was fun. It was crazy. All the weirdos came out. If you were weird, you could come out. I mean, it was just the grandest time. No one batted an eye. But on November 1st, you had to put away all that.
To a certain extent, there is a
Yeah.
liberation and a freedom that occurs for the ceremony of Halloween, where like you said, the freaks get to come out. Those who actually do embrace the darkness or some of the shadow play work and so forth. Those who believe that they're vampires, those who practice some of the more mysterious arts. There is a liberation and a freedom on that night that they never experience the rest of the year. Except now we fully embrace it. I mean, sometimes it's Halloween for people year round. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Dia de los Muertos is celebrated throughout multiple cultures and
Oh.
societies. So, but also it's a very Catholic ceremony too, where it was a certain feast that was celebrated. Yeah. So, and it goes way back beyond that too, to where we just celebrate our past ancestors, those who have come before us, even friends that we've lost in our lifetime. It doesn't have to be 200 years old. Just
Hmm.
people who aren't with us. And of course, during 2021, 2019, 2020, we've lost a lot of people.
When you think of cemetery and death and stuff like that, especially around this time, usually like old and decrepit, usually they have that in horror films. But when you go to some of these cemeteries, oh my goodness, they're beautiful. I mean, they're
Yeah.
mausoleums. You're Because when I went to one to do a little photo shoot, I was blown away. I was like,
Oh
when
yeah.
I die, I want something like this. It's
They're
just
beautiful.
beautiful monuments.
They're
Uh, it
beautiful.
it's celebrated. It's like
There's a
you
town
go out in
outside
style.
a town outside of San Francisco where no living person is allowed to live there unless their
Wait.
career has to do with taking care of the dead, and it's called Colma, and it's one of the largest cemeteries in the United States, and it is glorious. It is
Wait.
gorgeous. The mausoleums are castles.
Wait. There's something you said.
No
You
living
said
person may
no
live
living
there.
person. That should be a shirt. Is it? Did they have it written down
Well,
on
I don't
anything
know how
here?
the tourist trade is there, but we can
Oh.
go. We can go check.
Wait, what you said, is it written on their walls or in their flyers or anything? Because
I don't
I
know
want,
how good the tourist trade is there, but we can get it. We can make some T-shirts if you want.
I would love a shirt. No living person. Well, you
They
said no
dwell
living
in these
person.
halls. Yeah,
No
no living
living
person
person is allowed there.
uh,
That
is allowed to live there.
no living
You
person
can't live
is
in that
allowed to
town.
live.
Yeah.
You can't live in the town. You have to be dead.
You cannot live in the town unless your trade is directly related to funerary services. So you're
Wow.
a tombstone carver, a casket maker, a mortician. Yeah.
In the whole town.
The whole town
That
of
is
Colma.
pretty cool.
It's beautiful.
That is cool. I want to go.
Oh, we're gonna go.
But we got to leave before it gets dark. You know that, right?
No, we don't. No.
Girl, we'll talk later. I oh okay. Wait. Oh, see, you know how I am.
If you dress up in costume, then the spirits can't get you, and that's why we wear costumes for Halloween. And therefore, they're confused and apparently can't figure out who you are. That's what I heard.
They'll know who I am because I'll be the one screaming. They were like, "Will you shut up?" I gotta check that out. We got to check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
We'll make it a whole outing.
Yes, we have to. Speaking of horror, there was a real life boogeyman.
Yep, they called him the Boogeyman.
Albert Fish. That was a very dangerous man. He did some terrible things in the early 1900s. We won't get in detail of things he did because I don't want to be censored. The video taken down. But you know, move over, Michael Myers. There was a real one before you, and this guy was nasty. He did some terrible things. He scared the community. People didn't even want to go outside. They didn't want to have their kids outside. So kids who escaped, who saw things, actually said that was the boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Halloween franchise has any kind of influence on that boogeyman, but it was definitely terrifying. So we won't get into that. That's a whole nother section, but I wanted to bring that up, that times when you said it was like scary out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were like, hey kid, come in my house. I mean, there was someone who was actually trying to get those kids.
There are real monsters.
Yeah,
and there are reasons that they made Freddy Krueger, Mike Myers, Jason Voorhees. These were all based on other monsters.
Yeah, real life monsters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for those, you know, they could take the mask off and you know, they're actors, it's makeup. But during the times of these terrifying people that were out in the streets, it was scary. There was no makeup. These people were real, running around, harming little kids, adults too, for whatever reason. So I just wanted to bring out that information because, you know, Halloween, it's all over. It's so much history is into that. I mean, the stories behind them, some were actually real, some were made up, some was to scare the crap out of you. Some were tradition, some got in trouble for them, some people got killed for them, but it changed over time to what it's become today, is a multi-million-dollar business. From these crazy costumes to these theme parks going buck wild.
Mazes. Yeah.
And also, someone definitely made a fortune creating their own franchise. Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, that came out in 1978. Did you see this in the theater? No, you were young. You were real little.
The first movie I saw in the theaters was The Exorcist. My mom thought it was a good idea, and I enjoyed it. Yeah. And after that, I went and saw It's Alive.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And I learned how to make those noises.
Oh, don't do them. Don't do it.
And so I love scary movies.
So you didn't see Halloween in the theater?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did see Halloween?
Oh, yeah.
In the movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
How do you remember that experience?
I have to say it was fun because I'm a virgin at the time, and everyone knows it's only the the promiscuous kids that get off. Just don't be promiscuous. So, we're safe. But you're little kids. You snuck into a theater that you're not supposed to be in. You're safe. You've got candy, popcorn, sugar high, and you're watching these things, but these aren't the actual monsters that I have to fear from my neighborhood. These are stupid teenagers. Some of them are getting what they deserve, and a boogeyman that like follows them around in the shadows. And let's be honest, in the 1978, that boogeyman was damn slow. I mean, he wasn't like Pepe Le Pew running after them. That's some scary stuff. Like Chucky, he can move fast. Mike Myers was just like, I'm in a corner. I'm in a shadow. Like, don't go into that house. You're fine.
Halloween is it's a moneymaker. It's just what it is. It's entertainment.
Michael Myers has gotten progressively scarier. Like, we're not talking about the 1978 guy that just stood in the shadows.
Halloween has definitely changed drastically from people being killed because they were celebrating their religion to celebrating someone being killed.
Yeah.
In the movies, it's like
it's cathartic in a way. Yeah, we're working out.
But it did take a few centuries for that to happen. It just didn't. Well, actually, more than a few centuries, many centuries, for that to happen. So it wasn't something that happened overnight. What's the next level of Halloween? Let's say 10 years. Let's say another century. Where do you think it would go?
To see them incorporate some virtual reality aspects.
Girl.
Or I would like to see some video games that have, let's go through haunted mansions, or let's pretend that, we're helping the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine, go through the I guess, Warner Brothers owns those licensing right now. So if you get like your Oculus, where's my little Oculus over there? And then go into like a haunted maze in one of the theme parks. And then let's add some guns, or let's add some sort of spell casting, or let's add some sort of something where we can see it just in our lenses. And then we get an interactivity with actors that are playing these. I would love to see something like that.
Well, I would love to see you do it, because I don't know if my heart could take that. Virtual reality, going into haunted houses and mazes. Oh, yeah. Virtual VR hunt. Oh,
yep.
Oh, they probably working on it.
I hope so. I'd like to see some high-tech haunt.
I don't know.
Can you imagine just like 13 Ghosts, where you put on the glasses and that's the only time you can see them, but you have to share those glasses with someone that you're with? So they have to like walk you through a part of the maze where the Juggernaut's coming at you, or the Pilgrim.
See, I hope we're not partners, because I'm not sharing my glasses. I'm like, you're on your own.
Sorry, I can't get them to you. Just don't turn around.
I'll be like, it's right there.
So could you imagine if that was like a glass maze, and you've got to like help your partner through it, but you're the only one that can see the ghosts? Oh man. And all the sound effects are coming in from behind you. Lord.
I could say if couples go in there, there'd be a lot of single people coming out. Because the breakups would be fierce. Divorce and breakups.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Like, would you save me? We're about to find out. On our first date. You ready?
Yep.
No, I don't want to go out to dinner. No. I don't want all that. We're about to take this virtual reality maze right here, and I want to see what you really gonna do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A good survival partner. And then when you come out, be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. You couldn't figure out, and add escape room elements to it. Yeah, like if Yeah, you're
Now
dead
you just
smart enough.
now
Oh
you're
yeah.
just going overboard.
Hey, I think we're onto something.
You are onto something. I'll watch from the sidelines. Anyway, anything else you want to add to our history of Halloween?
No, just enjoy it, be safe, have fun. Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, that is the best. So, thank you so much, Dr. Lovey, for joining me on the
Thank you.
history of Halloween part 2. This was a lot of fun. We really got into the festive part of Halloween, from where it came from, centuries from where it came from.
Samhain,
So,
Celtics, paganism, harvest, home.
it came from a lot. So, enjoy it now because it wasn't, it was quite different back then. So, but thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more videos like this of us laughing, of how I will not go into a haunted house.
we're gonna make you go into a haunted house. Or if you want to see her go into a haunted house.
Oh yeah, if you want to see
Yeah.
me go into the haunted house, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, and until next time, stay spooky. Bye guys.